welcome to the May 30th edition of One Nation Radio. When you hear that music, you know what it is. It is time for the annual One Nation Radio NBA Finals preview. And look who I found. I can't believe it. After 2 months of not speaking to this man at all, I am joined by the originator, by a dude that's been down with me since day one. Word to the Usos. Jumpin' James Boyd. Or Jump Zone James Boyd.
That's a lot better than jumping. Anyway, what's going on, man? It's been 2 months. How you been, man? How's the kids?
Oh, man, I'm trying to get your audio right. So let me... go ahead and say something real quick, James.
Holla.
Yeah, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. So, what was that?
Yeah, I said, what's going on, man? It's been like, 2 months? How you been? How's the kids?
This man tripping. Well, anyway,
hey, hold on, bro. I mean, given what we found out about last night, I mean, I can't put it past you. Which one of you light-skinned motherfuckers got kids or not?
Yeah, man. This Drake and Push T shit, it's on a whole new level. But yeah, man, this is our annual NBA Finals preview. James hasn't been on the show since the night after, or the show after WrestleMania 34. So yeah, man, what's been up with you?
Been watching a lot of playoff basketball, and on the West Coast in particular. It's been a lot of great play by individual performers. And on the East, it's pretty much been LeBron and, the young Celtics. And from time to time, Embiid will pop up and Giannis does his thing, of course. But it's been a lot of fun. Been enjoying my time watching television program as opposed to being very upset with it. So by the way, I kind of logged off or whatever else. So I think where we left it off, that you were telling me that, the thought was Roman Reigns was going to be the new crown champion, and they were going to win it and have him win it off in Saudi Arabia. So how did that go? How's his reign been going so far?
Roman lost.
What?
Brock Lesnar's still the champion.
So they didn't do that. They just killed off the top babyface.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. Well, okay. Well, they got Rousey there, and on the other end, you think she's gonna have a huge match with Charlotte, maybe possibly made it to WrestleMania next year. They got to keep both of those women strong. I'm assuming they kept Rousey strong. So how's Charlotte doing? She like the biggest star on SmackDown right now?
Well, the first SmackDown after WrestleMania, they ended up having Carmella cash in Money in the Bank on her. So, and then she beat her in the rematch clean.
What? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
WWE.
Yeah, and there you have it. That's my reason why I have not been watching that fucking dumbass programming for the past 2 months, and is focused on actual entertainment as opposed to entertainment that makes you hate yourself. So we continue on with talking about something that's a lot more positive, a lot more bright. So on to the NBA.
All right. So if you guys have been under a rock, we are having the NBA Finals between the Golden State Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers for the 4th consecutive year in a row. Now, this is insane because this has never happened before. I want to say in like any major sport, 4 years in a row, same teams, largely the same players. We obviously had some new additions. We had a couple subtractions, but most of the main players are still there. So the Cavs, they were a 4 seed coming into it. They defeated the Pacers in the first round, swept the Toronto Baby Raptors, and then, went 7 grueling games with the Celtics, and, won Game 7 on their home floor. And, much to the shock of Bostonians everywhere who apparently don't know what it is when they play against LeBron James. So those Celtics versus LeBron series, there's only one real winner for that. Me. I win either way. I get to clown these suckers, or I get to clown LeBron. So Celtics, y'all thought everything was going to lead you to the finals. You're gonna be ahead of schedule. Nah, bruh. No 18th banner. None of that. Cutting that shit off right now.
I mean, yeah. Game 7 was just one of those. It was shocking after you watch this whole playoff run and you see Terry Rozier make every single open 3-pointer that he took, which is like, okay, so like when is this going to become a thing where like it regresses to the mean and he actually becomes the shooter he actually really is, and it all came back in one game. Like he went like 0 for 12 or 0 for 11 from 3 in Game 7. He was like, well, I mean, it's a heartbreaking time for him to learn this lesson, but it's a lesson that everyone must learn, which is stay in your lane.
Yeah,
Jason Tatum is the guy. He should get the ball more.
Yeah,
stop throwing. Don't go out there and then early in the shot clock jack up corner threes.
I
dribbled into.
I was gonna give Jason Tatum a shout out. Fellow member of the Light Skin Brotherhood, and also that
Duke.
Yeah, and from Duke. So a real one from the Duke. So. Western Conference, we had the Golden State Warriors go against the Rockets, and, that was a 7-game series, which I didn't think would happen, but somehow it did, and,
I got a question.
Yeah.
Right? Sorry to interrupt you, but before the series started, how many games did you think that series was going to go?
I had Warriors in 6.
6? Okay. I had Warriors in 6 as well. And because, I don't know, maybe it's because I picked the Warriors in 6, and I figured you would have went 5, but whatever. Okay, so.
I only picked 6 because they didn't have home court.
Ah, okay.
Because me, I don't like picking in 7. So, but
that's for suckers.
Yes, that's for suckers. Like have a heart, grow a pair. Yeah, but we saw the season end for the Rockets in Houstonian Rocket fashion. Led by James Harden and Mike D'Antoni, and Chris Paul was out there too, but not really. So he got injured. Your thoughts on the Rockets, James?
My thoughts on the Rockets is if they knock down. I rewatched it. I ended up sending you a video of it, a link to in the group of a stretch where they show all 27 consecutive 3-point misses. and I just count. Yeah, yes, that's right. That's right. You heard it right, folks. It's not a misprint. 27, as many world titles as the New York Yankees have. That's how many threes in a row they missed. This is one of the greatest 3-point shooting teams of all time, maybe the second greatest, right? And they missed 27 in a row. And in that montage, in that cut up, I saw that they missed 11 that will be considered for the NBA wide open, right? 11. If they knock down 5 of those, they're in the finals.
Yeah, man.
5.
I just
and look, and this is my thing. Like, I'm just talking about just the flat numbers, and we'll get to how much you want to say is Chris Paul, how much is the refs, and how much is whatever else. And how much is the fact that like you had the second and third best basketball players in the world. One takes over a quarter, and then the other one takes over the next quarter. Compared to one guy having to do everything for 4 whole quarters and then run out of gas. But if you just make 5 3-pointers out of that 27, 5 or 27, I don't know what that's a terrible percentage, right?
Yeah.
That's shitty. That's shitty.
Awful.
If you just shoot badly, not impossibly bad, just badly, right? They're in the finals. And now we've gone from there because it's just.
Yeah.
I don't think that might be the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Like the only thing I can think of that was weird to me was like Honestly, probably that game. Was it Game 6 with Josh Smith and who was a terrible 3-point shooter
Corey
that
Brewer.
the Rockets had? And Corey Brewer knocked down those threes when they're two of the worst 3-point shooters in the history of the NBA. Knocked down like 4 3-pointers in that fourth quarter. And ended up like, was that Game 6 or was that Game 5?
I believe that was Game 6.
Yeah, yes, right. Because Harden was fouled out, that or benched or whatever you want to call it. That was that's the last time I've seen something that odd of like that's just that like you throw that in and you see that again, that'll never happen again in a million years.
Yeah, man. So usually I would come on here. I'm gonna destroy him like James Harden. So the longest thing for the longest time, I used to think he just had no heart, and that was his issue. So this year he kind of won me over in that respect, because this wasn't the case of him not having any heart. This was just a choke at the end with those last Game 6 and Game 7 having those huge leads and blowing them like flat out. Regardless of how they did them, they blew them. They came out here and attempted no change at strategy. I guess they figured, this brought us here and we gonna die with it. Well, you died with it, and I don't know.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I just figured that someone would have been like, hey, let's slow the pace down. We have a lead. Let's try to drive to the rim. Let's shoot any type of 2-pointer because they'll give it to you. Let's do something. And they just kept jacking 30-footers and contested shots. I know, yes, they had the 11 wide open ones, but I feel like this is a case like if they were somewhat.
I get what you're saying. Games aren't in a vacuum.
Yes.
Games aren't in a vacuum. You need to add context. Move on from your game plan and stop being stubborn if you realize this is going to doom you ultimately.
Yes.
Right?
And it's just like D'Antoni just being D'Antoni, and James Harden being caught up in that, and then Chris Paul breaking down like Chris Paul is known to do. So to me, the Rockets they reverted to themselves at the end of the series, and they had these guys on the ropes. And to me, even Chris Paul playing doesn't excuse, or not playing doesn't excuse them for blowing both of those games, because you had them in the second quarter. The Warriors were out there looking like they were on the ropes, like they had that lemon booty. Someone had punched them in the mouth, and they didn't look like they knew how to respond. And all of a sudden, they just stopped doing what they were doing in the second quarter, and I don't know why. And these guys, to me, that was almost worse than Game 7 of the 2002 Western Conference Finals, when Peja Stojakovic was shooting air balls, and Vlade Divac was fouling out, and Chris Webber was spinning and not facing the rim, and and Doug Christie was shooting threes and hitting all backboard. This was an all-time collapse, regardless of who was on the floor. And I can't give enough credit to the Warriors for sticking with it. And then, while things weren't going right in the first half, they were attacking the basket. They were finding ways to just keep it close. Klay Thompson was playing with 3 fouls, and the second he came in the game, it was like he was ready to unleash. And I don't know, man. These Warriors, I'm earning so much more respect for these guys, by the day.
Yeah, I think the two things that you can really criticize the Rockets for is two things. They get too quick legitimate. Every foul in the first half that Klay Thompson got was all legitimate. These are all fouls where you're like, you dummy. You know you have foul trouble. Why would you stick your hand here and do this? You know damn well that's a foul. Go sit, right? And then, he gets that second foul in the first 2 minutes or whatever else, first 2 minutes, and then he plays for another 2 minutes, and he gets a third foul, and he's like, oh my God, what are you doing? Oh my God, these dudes are really setting themselves up to catch this L. This is, what the hell are they doing?
Right.
And then, they get how you say, you got to be first to the ball and 50-50 balls, whatever. In the first half of that game, in Game 7, there were no 50-50 balls. The Rockets got they gobbled up every single loose ball opportunity there was. They were to the floor. PJ Tucker Capella, they basically dominated the rebounding battle in the first half. But I mean, that's kind of thing of why, when they talk, or I'm sure you've heard some of the people say, praise the hyperbole on LeBron about like this is his greatest achievement, getting this sorry team to the finals, right? It's like, dude, he beat a 73 team,
right?
He beat a 73 win team down 3-1. Like, chill with that. Like, I think it's top 3 or 4, but not ain't nothing topping that, right? So,
right.
But one thing that was but the one thing that's the reason why I will always have that as number one, that 2016 finals is the fact that you can't play put Kevin Love on the floor against the Warriors when they play the death lineup or just go small, and you literally are forced to have to play, or at that time you had to play with LeBron and Kyrie, and it's going to be 2 guys, and it's going to be based on the fact that they ISO and get shots and drive and create for others. And that's the only, and we switch everything on defense, and that's the only way we're going to win this thing and muck it up. That's the only way we win this final, right? And they did it. The thing about that Game 7 with the Rockets is, in the first half, they did everything they could when they were at least poor shooting 3, as opposed to impossibly terrible from shooting 3.
Right. Like,
they were involved in Capella. They threw Joe Johnson out there for minutes, and they ran offense through him when Harden sat for a couple possessions. They put Ryan Anderson out there, and Ryan Anderson wasn't a disaster. He wasn't a disaster in the first half. When you put him out in the second half, that's when he was a complete disaster, and that's what basically is what opened the floodgates in the third. But when in that first half, when they were attacking the basket at different points and throwing lobs to Capella and whatnot, it's because they had a threat that if you sag, we will get the ball out to a wing defender and we will shoot. And then like once they looked at the paperwork and looked like, oh my God, Ariza's 0 for everything out here, we're sagging off him. That's when the things turned. Like all of a sudden we saw less driving, and that's also a part where it comes to the workload that Eric Gordon and Harden had to place on themselves in this series, because they're kind of quote unquote stuck doing this. Like that's the difference between Harden and LeBron and Eric Gordon and Kyrie, obviously. And you throw that out there.
Oh, my fault.
So, like that's the thing. Like the thing that holds people off. Like when you think of, for example, LeBron playing on 48 on Sunday, and literally at the end of that game, basically, like every possession is going to come down to the final decision I make. I'm deciding this or whatever else. And then the faith he had in his teammates to, at the beginning of the game, I want to say probably the first 14, 15 minutes of that game, he's throwing the ball out to guys, open shooters, and they're just clanking, and they're clanking, and they're clanking, and then eventually shots start going through. Mm-hmm. And then they actually, they survived. There was a point where they were down 12 at the beginning of midway through the second quarter, and it looked like if Boston makes 1 or 2 more shots, this game is over. To survive that and rely on your teammates to make threes, and the JR finally knocks a 3 down, and then you start going.
Right.
You can see all of that happen, and then LeBron choosing to stick with his teammates and still trust that they can do things, as opposed to I got to dribble the air out the ball over and over and over, and also know that I'm going to get really, really tired, so I'm going to jack up threes because me driving is going to exhaust so much energy or whatever else. That's the difference. And until Harden learns that there's only a finite amount of injury you're going to have, and you're going to have to be able to conserve yourself instead of pounding the air out the ball in isolation. Use more of these screens and just pop from mid-range or whatever else to do this. And that's the thing that's going to have to be learned over the summer. That's not a thing that you can just pick up and do after you haven't done it all year.
And I think with James Harden, because I think you just look at his body type, James Harden looks like he can easily get fat, right? So he needs to literally, like, and this kind of goes without saying, like, and obviously I'm going to say this about a professional athlete, but in, comparison to other professional athletes, he needs to get in better shape. Like, it's time for him to lose that weight that Kobe did when Kobe came back and he was 205 pounds. And then that's going to be able to hopefully, like, extend his conditioning so he can go later in games like that. Like, he's got to change his diet, something, because he's carrying, like, it looks like he's carrying like 230. And, after a while, as these years, like, he's not the youngest guy in the world. Harden's been in the league, like 9 or 10 years now. So it's time.
This is year 9 for him.
Yeah.
This is year 9.
Yeah, it's time for him to, like, come and slim down a little bit. And I think that'll help him, like, at the end of those series, which he tends to gas out, in a lot of situations.
But there's a lot of stuff with the Harden thing and why his numbers, like why he's grading first, like the beginning.
He was
of the season,
19
like,
for 79 from 3.
Yeah,
that ain't gonna work.
Like me and you used to always talk about this when, like, LeBron would have moments where he just would not be able to pull through whatever else, and we would talk about, like, and I would talk to you like, dude, look at the amount of burden that the guy has to just be able to keep a game close, and then at the end of the game, you want to have this guy, like, maybe in Miami was less the case, but like, to have somebody to where you have to, at the end of the game, you have to be the person to get your own shot and also be the only person that's responsible for getting everybody else their shots. Like, that is damn taxing. And if you're playing 40 something minutes, you're going to be gassed by the end of that game unless you were able to sit for like 6 minutes the first half of a fourth quarter, and that's just not realistic. Otherwise, But
yeah, let's go ahead. With Harden,
but with Harden is just like, and we used to talk about, like, that's the reason why LeBron throws up bad or ill-fated pull-up threes from the left corner at times, and sometimes they go and sometimes they don't, instead of just attacking the rim at the end of games. And LeBron's learned, like, man, in order for me to close these quarter or the end of these games out, like, I'm going to have to, like, not have to play defense or not run out and contest shooters from time to time. Like,
well, James Harden ain't got no problem playing no defense.
No, but my point is, when you're that tired, you're not going to be able to shoot. Period. Right?
Yeah.
When you're exhausted, you're not going to be able to shoot either. So he's going to have to figure something else out along his way over the summer, or hopefully have Chris Paul there to take off some of the workload. But I mean, this is year 13. This is about to be year 14 with Chris Paul. So they expect him to actually get through. Good luck with that.
So yeah, man, let's transition that into the actual finals. Well, the finals on paper. We just saw the NBA finals, but this is like the leftover portion. So Golden State's coming in. They won 58 games. They have the home court advantage. What are we expecting out of this series, James? Because, we got Iguodala coming in with the messed up leg, I believe. Kevin Love's got concussions. Obviously, LeBron's coming out there, like, really with one of his worst teams that he's, captained in a long time.
Is this worse than the 07 team? I'm talking about, like, I'm not talking about with Love. I'm talking about, like, Game 7. Was Game 7 squad worse than the 07 squad?
I don't think so. I'm not sure. Like 07, like, I don't know. People bang on that for being a terrible team, but they were a good defensive team, and they, had people show up from time to time. Like Daniel Marshall would catch fire, Damon Jones would catch fire, Boobie Gibson would catch fire. And I know those names, when you hear them, you're like, those people aren't actually good, but they balled at that time.
But the thing is, right, when we talk about catch fire, we're talking about, like, score 16 points. Right?
No, and, like Boobie Gibson. Do you remember the Boobie Gibson game?
But yeah, because you're not. But this is my point. Like, this year, this particular team, like, unless it's Korver, you don't get no 15-point games from nobody except for, like, Jeff Green in Game 7. Go figure.
Yeah, bro. You know how much I hate Jeff Green, bro.
Why?
All right, I think I sent you a
I should be the one that hates Jeff Green.
So
he knocked the 06 He's not the '06 Tar Heels out of the Elite Eight,
bro.
With a game winner.
There was a column about him, and it's like every NBA team keeps falling for Jeff Green. Like he's literally, what's his name? The dude.
He's a looks apart all-star.
Bro, he's a looks apart all-star. You would think he's so raw, but he's literally just a standard forward. Like, and he's stolen money all across the league.
No, great size, great build, right?
He should be good at basketball.
Great leaping ability, no skill.
Yes, like I don't know.
Either it's a combination to either he has an enormous, he has like a really small either a really small basketball IQ or he's really unskilled at really lacking in skills compared to the NBA. Like that was the only two explanations for why someone that athletic and with that build and with that and that kind of look is not somebody in this particular era of the NBA when everything is positionless basketball, that he is a guy that like, oh yeah, he's coming off my bench and like unless Kevin Love can cuss, he's going to be playing like 18 minutes.
Durant's gonna get that man 35 a game and be like, you were my backup before, like. So yeah, like with the Warriors, man, because you know me, I've been like ever since day one, I've been looking for chinks in the armor, trouble in the hierarchy, all that stuff. Do you think there's anything at all right now going on with the chemistry? Because there's just been, like, if you take this back, and I forgot what podcast I was listening to, the way that Durant is treated as this interloper, essentially, in the, Warriors dynasty, he's not them. Like, he's a guy that they hired on for, like, a special, service that he provides, essentially. But that's still, like, Steph's team. Like, when they give out the rings, the guy that's going last is Steph. Like, these guys feel like they're like. Do you think there's anything with the chemistry you think that has kind of like is bubbling right now? And do you think anything is like on the horizon to like go wrong at the moment?
Well, define go wrong. Like go wrong meaning like unless Durant or Curry gets hurt, like they're going to lose the title when both of them healthy on the floor.
Because there were moments in that Rockets series, like in the middle of the series, like when Durant's like shots weren't going, and then people were like whispering about like the isolations with Durant, and this has always been my feeling that this team's at its best when it goes through Curry, and then Durant is a luxury. So I don't know, man. Like, do you think they could be sick of each other at this point?
No, I think they're more or less tired from going through four finals runs, right?
I'm glad you brought that up.
Freaking LeBron.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm glad you brought that up.
LeBron's like the only guy that can be like, yeah, I'll play 100 games every single year in and out, and so I'll play a couple, and I'll also throw in an Olympics there. Like, he's the only guy built for that kind of thing because he's unprecedented, right? But for the normal guys, right?
And that went through my head during the Rocket series. It's like, oh shit, they are going for their fourth consecutive finals, and that shit doesn't happen no matter like what kind of dynasty they have right now.
Yeah, I think the main thing is like when I watch them anyway, right? I always get the impression that like the only person that Durant really has any kind of relationship like outside of the workplace, or like obviously it's not the case or maybe it's not the case anymore, or maybe we make too much of it, but like you could tell that like Durant and Westbrook had a friendship that went beyond when they entered the presser buttons into the facility and went in there. Mm-hmm. Like they actually hung out with each other and spent time with each other beyond just some teammate type shit. That's what it seemed like, right? This team, over the last 2 years, the only person I see like Durant have that kind of like more than just work type of friendship is with Draymond.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I mean, I'm not saying that there's beef between Steph or Clay with him or whatever, but like they just seem like, oh yeah, we cool, like just another teammate. Like you play in the NBA for 11 years like Durant has, and like you're just gonna have a bunch of guys around the league that you interact with, or you have teammates, and ain't no problem. But y'all ain't like the best of friends either, and it's not that big a deal. I think they're just like, I work here. We're teammates. I got your back, you got my back, but like it ain't. I think for Durant, this whole trip was almost as cynical as we thought. Like the LeBron thing in Miami was going to be, where it's like, oh yeah, he's just there for a hired gun, as opposed to like, nah, bro, like Wade and LeBron are like, that's quote unquote friends goals. That's the banana boat boys or whatever you call them.
Yeah.
So, but ultimately, like, well, I don't think that ultimately will be if they, if Steph and Durant are both healthy on the floor. Like, they're never going to. I don't think that's going to be a reason why they lose a series, unless something turned different than where we are now. Like, if it stays along the same trajectory, I think they'll be fine. I just think we undersold the Rockets as far as being a legitimate team. All throughout the year, I said to you, like, I don't think they're going to beat them, but I think they're going to give them a series, and they went beyond getting a series. They went to fucking 7. And, like, and the thing that's shocking for me is when you see, and we talked about this when Durant first got there, like, he basically erased or basically expanded the margin for error from the Warriors, from being where, like, if a bunch of crazy, ridiculous stuff happens, you can go out there and you can beat them 3 times in 4 nights and win the title. Now, that ain't happening more because, like, let's say, you have a defense that can switch everything and they can't get all the slips, they can't slip screens on the backside and get, weak side dives to the rim for layups and great pass from Iggy and just get, in the open floor and just bury people because people are lost trying to follow around Steph or Clay. Like, when you take away all of the quote-unquote easy 3-pointers that they get and that kind of stuff, and you actually have to make them, do more than just run their system, like, that's how you make it a game and make it difficult and make it look like, oh, Steph and Clay basically had a disappearing act for a whole half. Like, that's the reason why you brought Durant there, for Durant to come out there and ISO and get his buckets when your offense just ain't working. The problem is, in this game, in this series of points, Durant, when he's there to do his job, he struggled at times.
Yeah.
And that's what made it a series. I think that's the real reason why they became a series in that way, where, like, the Rockets played at certain stretches in this series, they played as well, like, connected and as well defensively as you can ask to guard those three freaking guys who are on the court at the same time. And, hats off to them. They got to 7 and they ran out of gas and whatever else. But that's where we are now.
Speaking of guarding, Jeff Green probably is going to be the primary defender on Kevin Durant. But James, I ask, who in the hell is about to guard Steph Curry without Kyrie Irving on the floor? That's been the thing. The last couple finals, Kyrie Irving has picked up the defensive challenge and looked across and said, I don't care who you are, that motherfucker wearing number 30 is not better than me. And he's made it, like, tough on him. That guy's gone now. Yeah. And he's gone from offense as well, so making all those crazy ass layups and everything. So, is this the year that Curry can break through and finally win his finals MVP, the one that was kind of stolen from him by Iguodala?
I think he's going to be fine. Here's the thing, right? Aside from a few games in 15 where it looked weird because they were trapping him and he had to come off the ball, and the times he struggled with every other game in 2016. Like, his finals, he's great. He's typically himself in the finals. Just we overstate it because he hasn't won one of these things yet, even though he should have the 15 one. Right. The thing is,
he damn near averaged a triple double last year, right?
Exactly. Exactly. You look at what we are this year. It's like, he may not win the Finals MVP, but, like, if you're going to be like, oh, is he because he's stricken from the moment, or is it because he's 70% nudge wink? Nah. Like, if he doesn't win the Finals MVP, that means Kevin Durant, like, went nuts again, and that's the same thing that happened last year. Like, we can't be judging Steph Curry for not winning Finals MVP when he's playing with Kevin Durant, and also he's also doing numbers. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, somebody's going to win this fucking thing. Like, it's going to be one of those two guys, unless maybe Clay decides, like, it ain't, maybe he pretends like all these games, maybe he pretends all the games in this series are all game sixes, and then he goes nuts. Who knows?
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
But unless that happens.
Look, if they keep going to the finals, Clay's going to get one of these years.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it happening. But yeah, I don't know. I would say that I would probably, if I had to bet money on it, I think that I would make Durant a slight favorite to win the Finals MVP. But like, it wouldn't shock me in the least if Steph got one this year.
So with LeBron,
because here's a specific reason, right? Beyond the Clay thing. I'm sorry. Beyond the Kyrie thing, where Kyrie literally would get pumped up on defensively to try to guard him the last two finals. You also had this conscious defensive effort to make sure that, like, we are going to make life as miserable as possible for Steph in these finals.
And that also came.
We're going to put him in every single isolation situation. We're going to run him through a million screens. We're going to rough him up trying to do all this cute stuff, running without trying to get to the corners without the ball. Like, they made his life a living hell the last two finals.
Like, bro,
like, it's just like Durant. I'm sorry. Like, Steph is just physically, for an NBA player, he's physically weak, and like that's always going to be an issue for him. And like, we say the same thing for Durant, but Durant is 7 foot tall.
Right.
Like that's kind of the deciding factor between those two.
Like, Amon Shumpert is like gone now, who would like muscle him like all the time when they bring him in.
JR will muscle him.
Like, who they gonna put in? Jordan Clarkson? I don't think that's necessarily what Clarkson really came here to do. So Nope. So it looks like
and also the Cavs. And another thing is, like, the Cavs were so much, even compared to last year when they were like in the low 20s in defense for the year, and then they kind of ratcheted up in the playoffs. Like, they were a better defensive team than this team. Like, this has to be the worst defensive team to ever make the NBA Finals. Has to be.
It's really bad. So
yeah.
So LeBron is about to become the reverse Jordan. This man is going for his 6th loss in the NBA Finals. So, what does this mean, James? Like, because, all I hear is this is just this great accomplishment. He's gone to 8 consecutive NBA Finals, and I don't know, man. You're looking like Jerry West right now. Like, and it looks like you've been feasting on a bad conference for all these years. And then I came across an article the other day that ranked the 24 teams that he's beat in this Eastern Conference winning streak. I believe the best player that he played was Derrick Rose, and the best team he played was that Bulls team, which he only had one guy that could get their shot. So they haven't been facing legitimate competition throughout the second and third rounds of these things. I remember back in 2013, the Miami Heat played 3 teams that won less than 50 games. I don't know, man. It looks like fool's gold.
Wait, what year was this?
This was 2013.
I didn't remember who was in 2013. Who was the 2 seed? I don't even remember.
The Knicks.
The Knicks were the 2 seed?
Actually, it might have been the Pacers, and then the Knicks were the 3 seed.
No, because 2013, like, the Pacers beat the Knicks in the playoffs in the second round, but they weren't there yet. At least I don't remember them being there yet at that point. Like, remember we were like, oh yeah, Melo got out the first round, and
I think that's 2013.
Yeah, that is 13. Like, they either they swept or they beat the Celtics in 5. And we were like, okay, this might be Melo's little turn because they had Steve Novak and they were jacking up threes.
Yep. And we saw all these terrible fraud teams like the 60-win Atlanta Hawks in 2015, like the Raptors this year, who were just, eternally shook of LeBron for some reason. I don't know, man. Like, when you keep going back to the finals and losing this many times, like, this final streak that they're going to write about forever, like, to me, I'm always going to know what it is. especially when you compare it to the Western Conference of the same time period.
Well, this is my I would say to you. It's like, if we're going to judge LeBron and say that he didn't play anybody in the Western Conference, then do we go back
or the East?
Didn't go back and say like, or sorry, the East was like, do we like go back and say, oh yeah, the West in the '80s was even worse than the East is, or the East has been. So like, do we like dock points for the Lakers, like with Kareem and Magic getting to the finals? I don't know.
No, we don't. You know why?
I don't know what you want to do with that.
You know why? Because they have a winning. They ended up with a winning record. In the time they lost in the finals.
Okay, so let me get this right. So Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar get to play with each other, right?
Yeah.
And then they also get to go in the weaker conference. And then we both have those guys as top 5 players all time. But then we go out here and we have LeBron play with Kyrie Irving, who's not even top 100 player of all time, at least not yet, right? Let's say he stays healthy. Let's say he gets to the top 50. I think he gets to the top 50. Do you think that's fair?
He probably get in there. 50, 40.
50-40, right? That sounds about right. Like he has to have a lot more health these next 6 years than he's had in the first 6 years of his career, or 7 years, whatever you want to call it. And you have Wade, who was good for them for 1 year, and they started breaking down like a jalopy. And you also throw in the 1 year when they went to 7, where like, did Bosh come back for Game 7 against the Celtics? Or Game 6?
He came back for Game 7.
He came back for Game 7. So I don't know what we do with that. Like, do we kill LeBron, or do we like prop up LeBron? Do we just like treat it how we treat them, or do we like go back and say, nah, Magic, Kareem, y'all wasn't shit. Y'all shit don't stink like y'all thought it was. Like so you let me know. I don't know, because like they beat in the Western Conference Final. They beat the Warriors that won like 38 games 1 year in the Western Finals in the '80s.
They have 5. they ended up winning more than they lost.
That's true.
So,
but my point is, you're talking about the team of those two. I'm talking about the team. I'm talking about literally LeBron between 2 different teams with 2 different situations, and neither one of those guys was as good as Kareem or as Magic was. That's my point. That's all I'm saying. So you decide how you want to handle that.
Oh, you know how I'm about to handle it. So, LeBron still ain't never won no legitimate NBA Finals, and I said that on this show last year.
Yeah, and it still makes no sense.
I'm telling you, and I'll go through it again. So let's see what we got. 2007, obviously you get swept. So you're 22 years old. You're probably ahead of schedule at that point. Not gonna hold that against you. The margin of victory wasn't crazy. It was rather close, actually. Then
it was sweet.
Then it was 2011. Of course, we had the absolute collapse. LeBron died in Dallas. Then 2012, lockout season, so that's asterisk, so that's his first win. Then 2013, niggas should have lost in 6. Should have lost, and then Ray Allen came out there and by the grace of God saved that man. And then from there, 2014, get the brakes beat off him by the most, the record margin or whatever. 2015, all right, your whole team.
Also for the 2013, hold on. One thing for 2013 finals, people also like to just LeBron hit this thing to forget is like Bosh and Wade combined for less than 30 in that series.
Hey, that's who he picked. That's who he picked.
Yeah, come on.
And then what was that? 2014, where they got beat by a record margin, the AC game, and all that shit. And then Patty Mills hits that movie montage of 3-pointers on their ass and sends LeBron the fuck off and ends that South Beach Heat shit and the Heat Index, all that shit.
That can't be the record anymore, because I feel like the Warriors beat them even worse last year.
They did. just getting there. So 2015, so LeBron, he takes a shitload of shots and he averages like 35, and he was in there seriously outgunned. But the last 3 games of the series, he shits the bed. In games 4, 5, and 6. Loses that series. 2016, obviously, we know the amount of tomfoolery and fuckery that had to happen for them to blow a 3-1 lead, which involved injuries, suspensions, and just
and a whole lot of missed shots.
And a whole lot of shit from Harrison Barnes turning to the new John Starks. Like, John Starks has been stricken from the record as Harrison Barnes from this point forward. And then after that...
And also, like, the two greatest shooters of all time missing a shit ton of threes that were open looks.
You know, and Kyrie showing up, you know, and hitting the shot. So, then from there...
LeBron scored 10... LeBron scored 7 of the last 10 points, but yeah, sure, he made a shot. Yeah. That's nice of him. Seeing that he's an all-star.
Yeah. And then, you know, the next year they got the ever-living shit kicked out of them, and that's 2017. So by my count, we got the lockout season asterisk. And then, you know, we got him getting saved in 2013. And then we got a suspension series and all types of other fuck shit that happened in 2016. So this would be his real first chance to win one, James.
Mm-hmm. You went through those 9. So you went through those 9, and he's been favored in 2 of the finals that he's ever been in. So look, you throw that out there, and that's how that works. Like, if you want to go through it or whatever else, like I can't say that. At this point over the last,
if people didn't excuse him losing and apologize and literally turn losing into winning, I wouldn't have a problem with it. Like,
that's not true because he's not Kobe Bryant, so that's not true. So, my point is, if
well, hold on. What you mean?
We're at a point now of the last. Oh, because his name's not because he's the guy that came after Kobe Bryant, and Kobe Bryant's your guy because you're a Lakers fan. Like,
well, yeah.
You know that he's already passed him, and you know he's already passed him as a player. Like, you're trying to do everything you can to make sure he doesn't pull away any bit further by judging him in a way that you would not judge Kobe Bryant, or none of us judge Kobe Bryant at the time. We grade LeBron on a curve that we never graded anybody else since, before, or even after. Like,
even winning championships wasn't good enough for Kobe, so because they hated him. So,
oh yeah, I mean, but here's the thing, right? We're talking to me who also likes Kobe Bryant, and like you had these conversations and get defensive about stuff that, like, for example, that's not even a thing. Like the way you judge, for example, Harden, right? When we were talking off air about how you know. We got to kill them because they blew 2 leads at the end of these games, even though they were outgunned. It doesn't matter. They had the lead and they blew them. And it's like, dude, like, they're not favored to win. Like, they're not expected to win. There's 4 All-Stars versus, at this point, it's 4 All-Stars versus 1. Why the hell would we expect a 1 All-Star to make it through and win? And you're like, we got to do it because we got to do it. And I'm thinking in my mind, like, okay, so, like, do we go back in time and, like, kill Kobe Bryant for blowing a 3-1 lead to the Lakers? And I think that's fucking stupid. But, like, we got to pick a line on, like, if we're going to be still the Rance phrase. Like,
well, they did kill him for that.
I don't remember this at all.
Bro, they said he quit on the team and he was trying to prove a point.
Are you talking about no. They killed him because he didn't shoot in the second half.
Right.
And then requested a trade and then they didn't trade him. That's why they killed him. They didn't kill him and say, oh, yeah, he's a choking dog, he's a loser. Kobe Bryant's a loser, he'll never win. No one, to my knowledge, I never took anybody's opinion seriously that said no shit like that. Yeah. And I rarely ever heard anything like that. Rarely.
We must be hearing different things.
For me, the mid-2000s Kobe, for most part, or 06 through 07 Kobe, for most part, is like me sitting there like super like, dude, how's he not the MVP in 06? This is stupid. Steve Nash can't lace that dude's shoes. And then it's me like, dude, he's going nuts in these playoff series. Like, what more do you want from him? I don't know. Maybe I have a thing to where like I tend to not criticize the person that's outgunning the series because I realize like that's fucking stupid, and I'm the only person with a brain that realizes like if you're outgunned, you're not supposed to win. So why the fuck you will be criticizing somebody for not winning a series that we knew they weren't going to win. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only person that thinks that. I don't know.
So
maybe that's me.
Yeah, because I definitely remember these those post Shaq years very well. He'll never win. He'll never do anything. Then he won. He still ain't get his credit. I feel like so, and then he got just thrown aside essentially.
Yeah, people did give him shit for the or not him, but like they did give the Lakers shit for like, oh, well, they just gave Paul Gasol to Lakers for nothing. Like, yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, and dumbasses want to try to relitigate the 2010 NBA Finals MVP and all this dumb shit, and it's like I don't know.
Like that's foolishness to me on my end. Like Kobe Bryant was incredible in that. Like aside from game 7. Like he was incredible for that series. Like, and he ended up having a bad shooting series in game 7, but like he had like 1 million rebounds.
All right. So, series predictions. I think we've danced around it long enough.
4.
Yeah. Warriors in 4. I picked Warriors in 4 last year, and I was damn close. And then the Cavs decided to go all time in Game 4 with their 3-pointers. Just absurd.
They went all time in Game 3, and if Kyle Korver makes the one damn 3 in the left corner that he was brought and is still in the league to make, like maybe I don't think they win 3 in 4, but like they end up getting one of those games, so it's like they just got the wrong one in my opinion, but whatever. Like, but it was still 5. Yeah, man, like. You look at last year's series and you think like they're a better defense team, the Cavs. You had LeBron, who was a year younger. That matters. And you also had, honestly, like I don't know how you feel about it. Like I feel like in watching that finals, like the Cavs were the best basketball team I've ever seen to not win a title. Like as great offensively as they were. Like, they were losing these games. Yeah, they lost by, like, 15. But, like, half these games, they were scoring, like, 110 and losing by 15. But, like, they're scoring 110 on, like, one of the best defensive teams of an era. Like, and they're still, like, they're outgunned, right? So, this team is clearly not as good as last year's team. Even if they only won one less game, like it's clear, it's obvious. So, like it's 4.
Well, I could say the 2013 San Antonio Spurs, like them niggas, like
they're up there, but like I don't think. How do I say this? Unless they can keep getting the same looks they were getting against that Warriors team from 3. And like Danny Green can stay hot. If you get Danny Green games 1 through 5, then yeah, they're as good. But if you get games 6 and 7, nah, they're not as good as the Cavs were last year. Because they're like, dude, I remember looking up the end of like the first half of game 1. I remember like, dude, like they have like 55, 60 points or whatever else. LeBron and Kyrie are both like shooting like 70% from the field. They're down like 8 or 10. They have
should have known.
There's nothing they're going to do here. Like this series is already over.
Yeah. I've also got a sweep. I've got an ugly sweep. I've got a beat 'em down sweep. Is there a such thing as a good sweep though? Okay, so for last year, as much like clowning as I do, yeah, niggas got gentlemen swept last year. It was a competitive 5-game series, right?
You think so?
I do think so.
I don't. Okay, let me phrase this. Once we got to game 3, it was competitive. But games 1 and 2, like it was kind of similar to the 16 finals, where like it's almost like the Cavs have to like be given a sense of urgency to realize like, oh yeah, you have to go through. You have to go through 96 minutes of basketball to realize like how the level you have to reach to actually be able to compete against the Warriors. those years.
The only concern I have for the Warriors,
in 2016, they were able to reach that level. 2017, they were not able to adjust after that. They could compete, but they could not win.
the only concern I have about the Warriors is Iguodala's leg and how much he may or may not play. He's been ruled out for Game 1. That takes like your primary LeBron defender and shifts that responsibility onto someone else. So unless LeBron's gonna hulk up and average 50, and also get something from somewhere, this is gonna be a long series or a short series. Excuse me.
You look at these shooting splits between road and home for these LeBron's teammates. It'd be one thing if you told me they'll make at least a respectable amount of their open shots, of the open looks they'll get in the course of the game. Be like, okay, JR, he'll knock down three or four threes or whatever else. Korver, he'll knock down 3 or 4. And you told me he's going to get, I don't know, 8 3-pointers that don't come from him to go down, right? I would say, okay, they might be able to win a game. But you look at how bad they've been on the road. You can't reasonably expect that to ever happen. The Celtics series, perfect example, right? Other than that Game 7, they were horrendous shooting wide open shots. So playing a better defense with more pressure don't sound like a great recipe. Also with a more
offensive
more
firepower.
Wear your tires. Yeah, I don't see how that's a recipe for that to also revert.
Yeah, I've got 4-0 with Steph as the Finals MVP, and like I said, reverse Michael Jordan, 6 L's in the Finals.
Yeah. I think what's going to happen is Durant is going to. I think LeBron's going to be incredible in the playoffs or in the series again. They're going to go down in 4. I think Durant is going to win Finals MVP, and I think a bunch of idiots are going to pop up and say that he's better than LeBron. That's exactly what I think is going to happen. That's exactly what I think.
Bro, I don't know, bro. The thing is, it's gonna be how many times are they gonna have to beat them like a drum? How is LeBron gonna even the odds then, or is he just gonna get points for being a quote unquote martyr and going in there and getting his head bust every year before someone's fuck it, maybe he's not the best player.
No, I don't think it's every year thing because if he stays on the Cavs, he's not making the finals again because the Celtics have Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward are going to come back this year. They're not beating that team at 7. In fact, they probably would have lost in 5 or 6 to the Celtics if they had those two. So because I tell you one thing that Kyrie Irving ain't going to do, it ain't going to be go 0 for no fucking 11 in an elimination game. That ain't going to happen, right? So.
Real one for the Duke.
This is last year. So this is last year making when he's making a finals trip unless he goes to another team. So if he stays in Cleveland, that's the end of this finals run for him. For going to there ain't gonna be no 9 straight and not in Cleveland. So that's where I'm at on that situation. But yeah, I expect it to be a lot of fireworks. Most of these, I think most of these games are gonna be done within the first, or they'll be. If I'm the Warriors, from the Warriors perspective, I think a lot of these games, or probably all these games, are gonna be done before you even get to the fourth quarter.
Well,
you can see guys to start the fourth.
They'll definitely be done in the third quarter if how they've played throughout the playoffs is any indication. Before we go, James, real quick, who out of the guys that didn't make the finals, who was the most impressive player in the playoffs for you, and who was you most disappointed by?
That did not make the playoffs.
Or excuse me, the finals. Correct.
Okay, because if you're just going to go off of a list of people best final runs, I would say the best player in the final or best player in the playoffs this year has been LeBron by a gigantic stretch in margin. I think this. Whatever. 2, the second best player in the playoffs has been Durant. Then after that, when he's been on the floor, Steph. Shocker, right? The 3 best players in the entire league have been the best.
I'm saying who didn't make the finals.
Yeah. Who didn't make the finals?
Right.
Well.
You You know where I'm going.
I can't say that because, I mean, Anthony Davis was incredible.
Yep, I was gonna say that.
Russell. Donovan Mitchell was really good. I mean, obviously he didn't shoot a great percentage, but neither did Russell Westbrook. But I'll throw him on there as well. It came like I would say the good Jason Tatum games were like wow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were few and far between, but like when he was on, you're like, oh yeah, this dude's gonna make like 8 All-Star teams. Like I finally saw what everybody was talking about in the regular season. Oladipo was hella impressive.
Yeah, Oladipo for sure.
Giannis.
Yep. And
you know who the opposite impressive was?
Yes, and I have it.
Melo.
Well, he's old.
He was the opposite of impressive.
No, you know who the opposite of impressive was? And looked like he has no heart. Looks like he's a choking dog and just trash. Damian Lillard came out here and stunk the building out. So the rant that I gave James Harden last year, that man played awful. He acted like he never saw a double team before. He came out there and got swept with the home court advantage. Go to hell. Like...
You know what's weird about this? Is like...
Drew Holiday put that man in a chamber.
Okay, so in 2014, when he hit that Game 6 game winner over the Rockets, right? That series-winning shot, because they actually ended the series right then. Like, I was in Baltimore, so, like, I was relying on, at that time, like, I had to rely on listening to SVP and Russillo, because Russillo was really great at basketball commentary and his idea and telling me like what happened. He used to do the old NBA Today podcast where he would run down and give you the rundown of what happened in all these games, right? He would watch like 2-3 games every single night. So he was really good at that. So I would rely on that, and like I would like get off work at nighttime, and then I would like rush to like Buffalo Wild Wings, and then like try to pick up the West Coast game. Mm-hmm. So like a lot of those games, like I kind of like out of my memory because I was like, you know, sleep deprived and whatever else. But like I remember that Game 6 shot and thinking to myself like, you know, he's a I don't want to say he was the clutchest guy to ever clutch, but like I've always thought that he was a good playoff for him. And then I remember their first round series last year against the Warriors were like Lillard and CJ McCollum were incredible in that series offensively. That, you know, especially that game 1.
We ain't seen none of that.
And then this series happens this year, and then like people are like, you know, making all the jokes about Damian Lillard is like Damon Stoudemire without like 5 inches of height and shit like that.
Yes. Yes.
Or he's Eddie, you know, like
he really just like Damian Lillard really just this man literally just a glorified Tony Delk, you know.
Yeah. So I'm like, wait, so like in my mind, you know, because the Pacific Northwest is so, like, no, sorry, like the Pacific Northwest and the mountain time area is so like off the radar to people who live on the East Coast like us that they're like, it's kind of like outside on the mind. It's like, oh yeah, like I remember when Kevin Love had that 30-30 game a few years ago, but like I never actually like really remember seeing him actually play like on ESPN or whatever else. Like every time I ever saw him, it was like watching a League Pass game, you know. So like I kind of, to me, this all like popped up and happened out of nowhere to me, and I'm like, wait a second, when did Lillard become bad as in the playoffs? And then it's like you look back and like you see his playoff numbers and shoot numbers, you're like, since forever, what the fuck are you talking about, James? And it's like it's a mind fuck to me because like
I remember telling you about it. You're like, what are you talking about?
It does not jog with what I remember. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At all. So it's still shocking to me.
Also, all that crying for them All-Star berths, that like people was waiting to jump on his head for that. So he's gonna have to come in next year.
And another part was like he was so great at the end of this after the All-Star break.
Yep.
He was so great after the All-Star break. So it's like
man got a first team All-NBA out of that shit, James. A first team All-NBA out of that shit.
Honestly, man, like aside from LeBron, I don't really know who else. Or aside from LeBron, Anthony Davis, like there weren't that many people that were better than him than Lillard. Like after the All-Star break over those 30 games, there just weren't. So like for him to get to the playoffs and shit the bed is like it's shocking to me. But
Where is
apparently
that?
not. It wasn't that shocking to most people because everyone else knew and I didn't.
Came for him.
The secret's out.
Yeah, man. So that's gonna wrap up the show. Thank you guys for listening. Thank James for coming on, and hopefully we get him back for this wrestling this summer. But yeah, thank you guys for all listening. Make sure you got. Oh,
okay, well, wait. Well, I got a question, right? So how was the last pay-per-view?
It may have been the second worst one of this decade.
And you want me to come back and talk to you about wrestling? Huh? Okay.
Talk to your dog. So have you been keeping up with the show, James?
I've been watching it here and there or whatever else. I think I've listened to like maybe two, like all jokes aside about the whole
Yeah, this man was this man knows what happened.
Like all the whole jokes about the backlash. Yeah, I know exactly what happened. I've been following. I'm doing everything but watching wrestling, watching the actual television show pay-per-views. And man, like it's just I think I've watched like 2 or 3 of the shows. I like the shows better because they flow and they're a lot shorter and brief and like they're more to the point as opposed to like me rambling off into space about other stuff half the time and then asking you a question that's kind of like they ain't got shit to do with what we talking about. I mean, it's sort of related to what we were talking about, but not really. Like we were talking about, like we're talking about Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns right now. You all and James, you want to make some point that leads back to 1997 again, James. Like they ain't got this shit to do with the show. So I think the show's more focused and concise and also tighter now that you're doing it solo. I think you're doing a great job with it, honestly.
Appreciate it, man. So if you guys haven't seen, I'm gonna be dropping like more like YouTube versions of One Nation Radio, so I've got one up there. It looks like it's doing pretty well. I did a reaction video to Enzo Amore's rap song where I paused and talked about the lyrics and all types of joints, and it's like an 11-minute video. You guys can check it out. Seems like it's doing pretty well on the views. Make sure you guys check out the rest of the podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Keeping It Strong Style with Jeremy and Josh. We got The Outsider's Edge with Rance and Carl. We've got the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show, as well as Grown Men Watch This Shit. James, I'm going to send you... Yeah, go ahead.
In there, like, haven't y'all added like 7 new shows since I stopped doing the show?
It seems like it, but Grown Men Watch the Shit, very good show. And Caleb, the Impact Report, I believe, is on hiatus. So, as Josh was saying, the brightest stars, they don't shine for the... I forgot how the phrase went, but we love Caleb.
Brightest stars don't shine or burn out fastest or something.
Correct,
like that.
something like that. But yeah, man. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. There's a link I'm gonna send you, James. Obviously, you were there with me in New Orleans where we saw that Matt Riddle and Royal Ospreay match. Apparently, they had a rematch. I want to say just recently, and it's like part 2 of that shit. So I'll send that to you. I think I sent it to the group chat the other day, but highly recommended. But yeah, we gonna get up out of here. Words and 4. LeBron take a L. Holla.